comrades in the struggle. And that's what I meant when I said we are in the race as the forces of change. So even though they are competing against each other, even though as entities, as parties, we are competing against each other, we are comrades. We are forces of change. And so we thought that there's a couple of things that we can coalesce around, but there's things that we can be able to do together. So as our principals are going to address you, there's 3 critical issues that we want to dwell on as the different forces of change. One, we want to, and they'll make the clarion call, want to together encourage Ugandans to turn out in large numbers like never before on 14th of January to vote. That's one of the reasons that we are here together as the forces of change. We are saying, let's unite, let's together in unison rally Ugandans to come out and vote in large numbers like never before. And that's step number 1, because each of us has got a part to play. So not everybody can be Kyagulanyi or General Muntu or Honorable Amuriat, but Ugandans out there have votes, and so we want them to participate in this, and that is 1. Number 2, we want to again encourage Ugandans, all of us, the forces of change, to encourage them to protect their vote. It's one thing to cast their ballot, but it's very important that they do everything possible to protect their vote. These 3 gentlemen are not able to do it on their own. They have done what they've been able to do. They have awakened the country, they have rallied people, but they're saying all of us should be able to participate in this. Go out and vote. Number 1, 2, do everything possible, everything legally provided for, to protect your vote. But also, they are going to be making a commitment to do joint protection of the vote. So yes, rally Ugandans to come out and vote, Ugandans do everything possible to protect their vote, but also the 3 gentlemen, the 3 principals are going to make a commitment to each with the entities that they lead, jointly protect the votes that Ugandans are going to cast for us, and they will elucidate a bit on that. We want to thank you, the media, for having walked this journey with us. You have been moving with each of these gentlemen, wherever they have been, where they have been beaten, tear gassed, where they have lost some of the people on their campaign trail. Many of the members of the campaign trails are in jail, but you have been with us every step of the way. So I want to appreciate you, want to appreciate the general public out there that has embraced the forces of change and showed that they are interested in change. And so they are going to be addressing us on these matters. I just invite my colleague, Honorable Mwiru, to make 1 or 2 communications as we open up, and then we'll invite our principals.
Thank you so much, my brother, Honorable George Senyani. I will just associate myself with what he has said, and in the interest of time, let's move straight away to inviting our colleague. Thank you.
Thank you. You can tell he's a lawyer. They usually in court say, I have nothing useful to add. So without further ado, we'll begin from the extreme right. Let's invite POA, the Honorable Patrick Oboy Amuriat from the Forum for Democratic Change to address us. You're welcome, sir.
Do I did this? Thank you very much, members. My colleague, from the Alliance for National Transformation, my colleague, the Honorable Robert Sentamud Kyagulanyi of the National Unity Platform, Dr. Kiza Lesije, all the members of the press, distinguished invited ladies and gentlemen. My name is Patrick Oboy Amuriat of the Forum for Democratic Change. Before I make substantive remarks. I would like to say that the Forum for Democratic Change is very much in the presidential contest, and speculations of myself allying with General Tumukunde are just mere speculations, and I think should not be taken seriously. We have been on the campaign trail for over 60 days now. We will actually be making 65 days campaigning. And so today, when we come to the close of this particular exercise, much of the attention wants to be given to the actual voting day. There is no need to emphasize the kind of torture that all the candidates have endured during the campaign trail on account of the militarization of politics in this country that has been building up over time. It didn't start yesterday in this election. It's been there ever since Mr. Museveni organized the election. And so this should not come as a surprise, but also we need to get interested in the fact that the scale of militarization has just increased this time. There's been a recruitment of makeshift force under the police force. There has been infiltration of the police force by all sorts of security organizations intended to cause fear not only to the candidates but also to the entire population. Needless to say that there's been wanton killings that we've experienced around Kampala and the other parts of the country. Many of our comrades in the struggle continue to languish in prisons. But the message that Mr. Museveni wants to pass across to Ugandans is that they are me not. And I think this is something that should be the gist of our address to the media this morning. Fellow Ugandans, I would like to speak to you at this point. Casting a vote to elect your leaders is your democratic right. Turning up to a polling station is your democratic duty. And so my call this morning to all fellow Ugandans of voting age and registered to do so is for them to turn up in their numbers like never before as a way to disapprove the dictator and to ensure that we have a new political order in this country. Casting a vote by itself is an expression of your desire to have a leader elected to lead you for the next 5 years under our Constitution. I would like to say to our electorate that without determining the kind of leader that you want to lead you in the next 5 years, you would have failed in your democratic duty. Secondly, casting a vote by itself alone is not a panacea for the person you prefer, your preferred candidate, to be elected. And therefore, I would like to call on fellow Ugandans to turn up again and stand very strong in the protection of their democratic rights by turning what would be a mere piece of paper to something that can be of a consequence to the kind of governance they are going to go through during this particular period. Voter protection, therefore, is paramount, and in doing this, we come together, and I associate with my colleagues, the President from the Alliance for National Transformation, my good friend General Mutu, and former colleague in the FDC, and my brother, the Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi Sentamu, from the National Unity Platform, in a joint effort to first of all ensuring that our voters come out to vote. Ugandans have been calling on some kind of unity. Today, you can see that we are united in this struggle. I know that many have always thought that we should, have joint candidates, but there are different ways to unite, and this is the first step in ensuring that we unite in calling on Ugandans to come and vote and also protect their votes. I would like to sound a serious warning to the Electoral Commission. The so-called Independent Electoral Commission has a constitutional duty to organize a free, fair, and credible election, without which they are just merely a useless organization. In creating a free environment, I would not have expected the chairman of the Electoral Commission, Justice Biamakama, to dissuade our voters from keeping in the polling station, because that is our line of defense, and we draw this line of defense from our own experience as a forum for democratic change. That fellow citizens go vote. There is nothing in the law anywhere written that stops you from staying within the precincts of the polling station to ensure that your vote is protected. And so really my call is for Ugandans to know what the Electoral Commission has pronounced very recently, warning Ugandans from staying within the polling station. Please do stay at the polling station, of course, observing the standard operating procedures. Find your mask wherever it is, wear it. Probably if you can afford, carry a sanitizer along with you, so that this is not used and as an excuse against anybody or all of you. I also would like to say to Ugandans that there are machinations that are now taking place. These machinations by the NRM and Mr. Museveni himself, who wants to enjoy longevity of his regime beyond 35 years. There is heavy deployment across the country of the military. As far as the law is concerned, there is a very maximum amount actually, of police personnel that need to be deployed at the polling station. It would be counterproductive for anybody, including Mr. Museveni, to think he would use the army against unarmed civilians who are just going about their democratic duty. And so my clarion call to all Ugandans is, take the military and the police as institutions that are meant to defend you and not to torment you. Stand up against any kind of intimidation, because this is your country and there is no other country other than this that you are a citizen to. We are also very concerned as the Forum for Democratic Change about the dispatch of materials to the various polling areas. So far, ballot papers have gone out, so this is the claim. But I am particularly concerned about a very, very important element, and that is the absence of the serial numbers that ballot papers going to particular polling stations are assigned. This is important, and I think the regime and the Electoral Commission needs to know that we are aware to the fact that in previous elections, rigging has taken place using that kind of gap that is created by the Electoral Commission. So we want to demand, and I believe I'm enjoying with my colleagues here, that serial numbers for all ballot papers going to particular polling stations be issued immediately. Finally, from my part, is that our victory, wherever it is going to go, between the three of us, has to be secured. And this is going to guarantee that the victories that we've registered in the past, from the time of our inception as a party, those victories are reclaimed. So, fellow citizens, do not just lie low as Mr. Museveni and his apparatus that have mastered the art of rigging take away your victory and your desire to have change coming to this country. As I conclude, I want to address Mr. Museveni to think about this nation more than his own individual selfish interest. Many times we've seen selfishness exhibited even in the campaign, where our hands have been held behind, and yet Mr. Museveni moves freely wherever he wants to go. Many of our people, including candidates, have been incarcerated, tear gassed, gone through harsh treatment, while Museveni has a free ride in every part of the country that he is campaigning. Think about the nation of Uganda, more than your own personal selfish interest. If this election is not run well, the whole process is going to be a recipe for a chaotic Uganda. At the moment, Ugandans have been pushed very, very close to the wall. And I think their only defense is to use their democratic rights under Article 3 of the Constitution to stand up against those who choose to violate the Constitution, who choose to abrogate it, who choose to alter it or rewrite it. And this Article 3 is a command to every citizen of this country. And this command, my fellow citizens, must be taken seriously, because Mr. Museveni is just one against 45 million Ugandans. So his selfish interest should not go above the interest of this nation. I thank you very much, members of the press and my colleagues, whom we in the Forum for Democratic Change now associate with, in going out to gather votes, the details of which are going to be thrashed out by our secretariat. But this, my presence today here, confirms the fact that we are going to cooperate in those key areas of electoral, of calling on voters to come out, protection of our votes, associating with the nitty-gritty that goes on in the polling station, voicing out in communality what we intend our people to do, and there will be further communication to this effect. Thank you very much. God bless you. And I say this for God and my country, one Uganda, one people.
Thank you, Honorable Patrick Boy Amriat. Thank you for Democratic Change. I will now take this honor to invite General Gregory Bishamuntu to address the press.
Colleagues, Honorable Patrick Amuriat, the President of Forum for Democratic Change, Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi, the President of NUP. I take this opportunity to speak to fellow Kenyans. Politics is at the center of our day-to-day lives. When politics goes wrong, everything else gets negatively affected. We've been unfortunate as a country. In the last 58 years, we've never had any peaceful change. Our deepest desire, even as we participate in this electoral process, is to have an opportunity as a country for once to see change through peaceful means, through an election. We've got an incumbent that is almost doing everything, putting all the plans, hang on to power. For the last 60 days or so, going around the country, talking to our people, encouraging them to participate in this process. And in this collaborative effort, our desire still is to appeal to the Ugandan people to turn up in large numbers, because the regime has been doing a number of things, basically to discourage people from voting, because they know it is to their advantage when there is a low voter turnout. We as the forces of change recognize that the higher the numbers, the Ugandan people who come out and vote, the higher the possibility of putting off peaceful change for the first time through an electoral process. We recognize the problems that are within the environment in which we operate. And the time any incumbent who desires to hang on to power, they always use force, as they've done. They manipulate the electoral process. The Electoral Commission has noticed the pressure which are exerted onto it, the use of money and all other things that they are doing. So first, whatever you see as the Ugandan people, let not all the problems that you notice discourage you from going into that polling station and voting for change. That's the purpose that we believe us coming together, that can communicate to you, the Ugandan people, that it is our responsibility to do everything humanly possible to pull off peaceful change through an electoral process. Two, we are arranging to have a meeting with the Electoral Commission to impress it upon them that the number of pronouncements that they are making, which are outside the law, need to be rectified. One, for them to say that people should not appear on polling stations with cameras or phones. We need to have a transparent election. And for us as candidates, for us to be able to gather evidence in areas where at times our agents may be pulled off the polling stations, we need to capture those moments. It's good for us, it's good even for the Electoral Commission. Two, the pronouncement that people should not stay on the polling station. That's outside the law. The law talks about staying 100 meters away from the polling station. The only thing they need to do in that regard is to encourage people to social distance and to have masks. But for people staying on polling stations is within the law. We're also working together. We're going to communicate to our different agents and leaders at the different levels to collaborate in vote protection. The mechanisms of which will be worked out by our technical people. Thursday is critical. We believe there can be change through an electoral process. It takes two to tango. We notice there is panic and a state of paranoia within the regime. The situation is more complicated now than ever before. Hoping that they can recognize that we are 45 million people, a country that has got a population that is growing very fast. 35 years are going to hit 100 million. One hopes that sense can sink into the minds of those who intend to hang on to power, that there is a future. But only if they remain responsible and do not continue being reckless as they have so far been. It will be good for all of us. For us in the opposition, for them who are in power, even when they lose power, that won't be the end of the world. We need this country to remain together. We will play our part. We call upon those who are in government to play their part too. And we ask the Ugandan people to stand firm. This is our country. We're trying to shape our future. The individuals who are reckless, who are driven by greed, they should not hang on to them. So we therefore need to stand together to ensure that we shape a better future for our country. Lastly, one of the issues brought up by my colleague, Honorable Patrick Oboy, we have received files, part of which there needed to be within the parking list that specifies serial numbers. The serial numbers specific to the polling stations where the ballots go. We have not received that yet. The meeting that we seek to have with the Electoral Commission, we hope by that time they will have rectified that anomaly. It is something that we intend to keep pushing. Otherwise, the Electoral Commission will simply be participating in the schemes which are ongoing, quite a number of them. We won't be giving you details on the number of things that we know the regime intends to take. We would like to urge the Electoral Commission, the chairperson, the commissioners, be firm, be bold, which they haven't exhibited so far. But it's not too late. They stand between a peaceful situation and possible problems that none of us desires to get into. They are there in the middle. If they stand firm and are bold, the law is with them, the country will also be with them. We would like to urge the Electoral Commission, don't bow to pressure. The lives of people, 35 million people, is the future. Look at, to shape, to stabilize. Keep thinking about that until Thursday, and we hope that you'll do the right thing. May God bless you all.
Thank you, General Muntu, for those remarks. Very critical. We need to stand together to make this happen. Let's now invite from the National Unity Platform, the Honorable Kyagulanyi Sentamu Robert. You're welcome, sir. Thank you very much, Comrade Nero. colleagues, the Honorable Patrick Oboy Amuriat, President of the Forum for Democratic Change, General Gregory Shamuntu, President of the Alliance for National Transformation, our elder, Dr. Kizabeth J. Ladies and gentlemen, I salute you this morning. I want to associate myself with the communications of my colleagues, the Honorable Amuriat and General Montu, and to further mention that we cannot take so much time overemphasizing on the impunity and lawlessness that we have had to stand the last 2 months. As you all know, ladies and gentlemen, standing against General Museveni is a more dangerous crime than any crime we know here in Uganda. As we stand here today, abductions are ongoing, killings are ongoing, and arrests are ongoing. Just my entire team was arrested in Kalangala. Only 46 were released. More than 100 continue to languish in prisons. Many arrests are ongoing. Last night, there were raids on more of my team members and some of the leaders of the National Unity Platform. Mr. Ray David Wanika, also known as Selector David, was raided by the military. His doors broken and he was taken away. Nobody knows where he is. Last night, one of our team members, my driver sometimes and works mainly as a mechanic, one Katerega, was shot by the military and he passed away this morning. And again this morning, my house was raided. 2 of my gardeners were taken away and my security guard was beaten very, very badly. That is what we have to deal with, ladies and gentlemen. But while this is ongoing, the Electoral Commission is silent. We have reported numerous times to the Electoral Commission. We've informed them that even the polling agents that we sent out there, even the coordinators that have been identifying and recruiting polling agents are being rounded up and arrested and charged with recruiting rebels. That is the election under General Museveni. The Electoral Commission has been conspicuously silent and continues to be silent even when we raise these complaints, both physically and in writing. The only time the Electoral Commission has come up is to actually castigate the victims. As the Electoral Commission recently continued to expose its bias by stopping me from further campaign, and indeed I've not been able to campaign for the last 5 days because the Electoral Commission said I had to sign an illegal memorandum of understanding with them. That is where we are. We know that all this is being done to intimidate and discourage people. We know that by deploying the military and police in all places, by arresting our members, by arresting people indiscriminately, the regime is trying to discourage Ugandans from turning up in large numbers and vote. So I will not dwell on the challenges that we are facing. Let me go straight to the message that all of us as the forces of change seek to communicate to you this morning. We are raising our voice in unison and agreeing that indeed it is time for Uganda to have change. We are therefore adding our voices together to call upon all of you fellow Ugandans to turn up in large numbers and vote. By now, all voters have made up their mind. By now, we know all voters know who they want to vote for. But most importantly, we are convinced that all voters in Uganda would want a better Uganda, a peacefully changing Uganda. Therefore, we call upon all of you fellow Ugandans to turn up and vote. Please communicate this message to everybody you know and help those that cannot carry themselves to the polling station, the old and the weak and the ill. Help them to be able to assert their voices. And besides voting, we continue to call upon you to be vigilant and protect the vote. Stay there. There's nothing in the law you will be breaking by staying at the polling station. We've continuously advised fellow Ugandans to always wear face masks and observe social distance. But this is one day that we believe is going to change the destiny of this, our country. So we encourage all the voters to turn up and vote and stay there and guard the vote. Do not be discouraged by the illegal pronouncements of Mr. Byabakama and the military and other security forces. I've said it before and I'm saying it again that Mr. Byabakama is a civil servant. The Electoral Commission and all the leadership of the Electoral Commission, those are servants of the people. They are not bosses. They are under the law. They are governed by the law, the same law that governs everybody else in Uganda. And we are telling you that you will not be breaking the law when you stand and watch your vote. We know that General Museveni prides himself in vote rigging. But again, it has been our call for we, the leaders, and for the people of Uganda to unite. We are convinced that the people of Uganda are going to be united. And we are here to demonstrate our unity. So we encourage all of you, ladies and gentlemen, turn up in large numbers. Encourage every voter you know to turn up and vote. Don't say, we are so many voters, even if I don't come. No. The future of Uganda needs every single vote. It is your individual vote that is going to change the future of this country. And be there and watch the election. Be there and watch the process. We've also been encouraging you, and we will continue to encourage you, ladies and gentlemen, to use your phones, to use your cameras. We had Mr. Byabakama discouraging people from using phones. We are glad that he, capitulated. We are glad that the Electoral Commission came up with a statement and making it clear that it is okay for people to use their phones. It was indeed okay then, just like it is okay now. So please use your phones. Your phone is a very powerful weapon. That camera that you have on your phone, please use it. Use it most importantly to record that particular moment when the presiding officer is declaring the results on the polling station. We need every kind of evidence. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I also want to take this opportunity to encourage those that have gotten the application that the National Unity Platform revealed recently, the YouVote application. Although we are still getting challenges to have our people access it through Google Play Store, we are making every effort to share it, to share the link. And those out there that can continue sharing the link, please share that link. There's a section where only the certified, the official agents can send in the declaration forms and the results, and there's also a section for the general public. And I also want to remind you that by law, the Electoral Commission is required to pin a copy of the declaration of result form on every polling station. So fellow Ugandans, it is our national responsibility. It's a responsibility of every citizen of Uganda, not just we the leaders, not just the political party leaders, not just the presidential candidates and all other candidates. It's a responsibility of all of us. We've been calling upon you to take this upon yourselves. Let us do this as a nation. We are united as the forces of change in calling upon you to turn up and vote, in guarding and protecting the vote, but we continue to appeal to fellow Ugandans to do the same, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, I want to send a message to the Electoral Commission, Mr. Byabakama and the team. You have studied our history. You know what a bad election has done to this country. So we call upon you to reflect on what you are doing. We call upon you to remember that the lives of 45 million people are in your hands, are on your shoulders. So it is important that you respect the voices of the people of Uganda. If you mismanage this election, it will be upon you forever. So kindly remember that and be warned that the people of Uganda are not going to accept any illegality any further. The people of Uganda are not going to accept any alteration of their voice. To the men and women in uniform, the police officers, the soldiers, and all other security agencies, the majority of you are young people, and you have a very long future ahead of you. I call upon you to study how dictators have used young men and women in uniform, and how they have fallen, leaving these young men and women to answer individually. You have been and you continue to be used to abuse the rights of the people of Uganda with impunity. But I want you to remember that according to the human rights law, you will individually be answerable for all the human rights abuses. And again, I call upon you, brothers and sisters, don't be used to mess up your country. Don't be used to murder your own people. You cannot finish Ugandans. But again, you will not be proud of yourself. I thank you. And finally, to the people of Uganda, please stand up and vote. We can only offer leadership, but you are the true masters. We, the leaders, are servants. You are the true masters. Take your destiny in your hand. Turn up on Thursday, just a few hours from now, and cast your vote. It is going to be a revolutionary election. Let this be a protest vote. General Museveni prides himself in violence. He has always been pushing us to the violent line so that he can respond to us with violence. We are non-violent, and we continue to advocate